Hey, you guys. Okay, my battery's low. The energies are wild, but I felt the need to do this right here and now. So I've been talking about this special occurrence in the field right now, in the quantum field. So it's happening within and without by law of reflection, by law of resonance. So right now, what this looks like is starting yesterday, right? Yesterday was 333, a portal, an initiation. The new moon is coming on 363. So we see 333 and 363. It's like yesterday doubled by the time we get to the new moon. But yet we have these 4 days as a sequence. So each day actually becomes very significant when we look a little bit closer. If 333 was the initiation, yet we're not at the new moon, which is the beginning of the cycle, this is like an initiation within an initiation. This is a cycle within a cycle. We see a microcosm of the macrocosm that appears to be reflected by the moon, but it's beyond the moon. It's the light of the sun, which goes beyond to the light of the one. So right now, we're seeing the initiation within the initiation was yesterday, and we still have 3 more days to complete the cycle until we get to the new moon. We consider these 4 days in reflection of the moon, and the moon's 4 quarters, and the moon's cycle. We have the new moon, we have the first quarter, we have the full moon, and we have the last quarter, right? And so when we see these 4 days in reflection of those points, we can see that the third, yesterday, was the initiation. Today is the first quarter, reflective of the first quarter. Tomorrow will be reflective of the full, the completion. And then 363 will be what yesterday was, doubled. And it will be a cycle within a cycle, within a cycle, within a cycle, within a cycle. Oh, the irony of the great paradox. So, 363 will also be the final quarter, the last quarter, the 4th piece to solidify the 3. The original light into the 2, the mother and the father, the 3 becoming a triangle, giving the light to the 4th, which is the child of the mother and father, which are one in divine light. So the 4th, 4, is like a square. It gives structure to the circle of life. 4 gives form to spirit. So we're seeing these 4 days are holding a very powerful message, which ultimately becomes a portal, which we can activate and enter to leap forward in our evolution. Essentially, these black holes are like the reflection of the light, the sparks that are being thrown off everywhere because of our expanded vision. These black holes are portals that we're opening with our own awareness. And so these 4 days we can look at as 333, 343, 353, 363. And what do I mean by that? March 3rd, 2019. 2019 is a 3. So again, yesterday was 333. Today is 343. Tomorrow is 353. New moon is 363. We're weaving this web. We're the ones weaving this web. It's no one else. There's only one. There's no other. Okay? So these 4 days are a sequence that is reflective of a much larger sequence. There's a grand alignment within an alignment within an alignment, and so on and so forth, happening right now. This is the day of the in-between, between the old and the new. And the funny thing is, we'll only come out and forward from this in-between phase when we realize that it is the new phase. The in-between is also the merging, the result of a synthesis of the two. So while we're in between the old and the new, we're also in between worlds in every dimension. So we're not just in between the old and the new. The two are merging, birthing an entirely new reality. So picture, for example, we have 2 realities, heaven and earth, coming together. When they come together, yes, we do have the merging of them as the third. But what then is born of that? it's not just the mother, the father, and then the merging. It's like a Vesica Pisces. What is being born? What is the child of? What is the synthesis? What is the product of that merging? What does that look like? It creates a whole new reality, a whole new dimension, and this is what we're getting used to. And the only way we will lock that in is when we realize the paradox there. We realize the irony that, man, I feel like I'm in between and I'm really stuck. Like I'm still in the old and I'm also in the new, and I just can't step over. You already have. You already have. It's about embracing that feeling of unfamiliarity. And I want to talk about that unfamiliarity and that feeling of disruption, like something's out of order. This is the Tower card in the tarot. Each card holding deep archetypal wisdom, together forming a complete system to guide us through any experience in life. And the Tower, the wisdom of the Tower is such that it represents like the Tower of Babel. It represents disruption and separation, destruction. But if you look deeper, you can see the occult meaning of this card. In the destruction is the construction. Everything has an opposite and equal reaction. So we can access the power of one through the other. So why does destruction represent construction, unification? If this is the separation, unification is its opposite. Our unifying factor as a consciousness, a unified consciousness, the most sustainable and loyal factor is change, disruption. Change is the only stability. So when we completely embrace change is when we'll actually, through our realization that it is the only thing that's real, project a reality in that truthful reflection. And how do we do this? How do we embrace change? We can look at the wheel. Real time is not the clock that you know. Real time is depicted by the wheel, the great wheel of life. This great wheel is the clock of Father Time. So the wheel, if you look at the tarot and you look at the archetype of the wheel, it's change, it's the seasons, it's the rhythm. It's the 4 quarters of the one, and the 2 and the 1 and the many in the 1 by law of multiplication. So that's real time beyond this illusory space that we seem to know so solidly. So when we consider the wheel of Father Time, then we're on to something. Everything is made of quarters. Everything infinitely splitting into 2. And so what is this great wheel as depicted in the other dimensions? There are 4 worlds. So there are 4 wheels, essentially. There are 4 names for these wheels. There are 4 different forms of the one same energy, forming 4 wheels in 4 different worlds that become a chariot. Because they're 4 wheels, they're a foundation. But they're also complete in a sense that one has its imprint in each of the worlds. Together, they form a completeness beyond just, a tire. They're a wheel that's rotating, spinning in every direction, forming a sphere of light that essentially carries you. The 2 forces joined as one, and as a result, that sphere is activated and carries you. Okay, so picture like a Merkaba, 2 triangles coming together as the simplest representation of our merging. And then that, when coming together, the effect causes us to spin and rotate, and those essentially are what those wheels are of Father Time. Okay, it's really one wheel projected into 4 wheels. It's the same one wheel though, and those 4 wheels make the chariot of Father Time. That's God's chariot, and in that happening we reflect that microcosmically, because we are a wheel within that wheel, within the greatest wheel. And so that chariot is formed with the wheels of the 4 different worlds, reflecting the one wheel of time that is the one, Elohim. And where's that chariot going to ride to? It goes from the 3rd eye to the crown. It goes from the pyramid to its capstone. There's a space in between the pyramid and the capstone, the very top pyramid. that is the space that we want to travel through. This chariot is not to, travel in the way that we've been traveling here on this earth. It's traveling beyond time and space to this place of the seeming yet illusory separation of the pyramid and its capstone, of the third eye and the crown, of the Father and the Son. And I better get to the rest of the reading before my phone dies. So I wanted to show you guys that I pulled a pattern right out of thin air. I was laying in the sun just now, and I was guided to pull a tree. I was guided to pull what the pattern of the tree was in that particular moment and what wisdom it wanted to show me. So I'm going to lay it out how it was, and then I'll show you all. Okay. So the sun was right in the center as the crown, okay, at the top here. This is a forward direction. The sun was the center, the crown, right away, boom, the sun. The Father was the 9 of Cups, completion of a cycle of the heart. And this is also the pillar of mercy. Then going to the pillar of severity, and the mother, Binah, is the King of Swords. Perfect symbol, the King of Swords, to top off the pillar of severity. The force of destruction for the sake of the one to be able to rebuild in more completion. Salve et coagula. So keep in mind, the tree works in the form of like a lightning flash. So we get the light from the crown, which is perfect as the sun. It goes straight into the Father, then into the mother, and then down this way and across, okay? That's important to know. So actually, I should just keep it like this. This is probably easier to understand. I hope you guys have a good angle here. So as the light comes down from the sun, which is also the Father, the top of the crown, okay, don't look at that card yet. That goes down in this direction to the great Father here from the original light, okay? So we could see the reflections, Father, but this is Father, because this is the original light. It's the Father and the Mother combined, Elohim. Okay, so we go down to the Father, then to the Mother, then to Hesed, and then to Gevurah. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right now we're very much in the lesson of 4, but it's funny because look, the future is already implicit in the past, or in the present anyway, because it's a 5. So we're in the 4th Sephirah, but we already see a 5. It's a sign that we're on our way to the cross. Okay, let me know that you guys are seeing this and hearing this, okay? So right now, we're receiving the light. Everything is coming into the light, the truth. That light is given down to the Father, the masculine, the pillar of mercy, the 9 of Cups. Father says, let's complete this cycle. Fill the cup till it overflows. Let's fulfill our mission once and for all, our mission of the heart. Cups are the heart. And so, the mother turns to face the Father to receive his light, okay? She opens up to receive that light, and he says, let's complete this cycle one and for all. And because this is the pillar of severity, whatever we need to do, we will do to complete that cycle of love. So, with the sword of truth, we cut through all that is impermanent, straight to the truth, to end a cycle once and for all. How are we going to do this? We get our spirits embodied in the 4th Sephirah here. This is the 4th, which means we give spirit form. How do we do that? This is the 5 of Wands. This is spiritual warfare. We get in our bodies. We wrestle with the self, wrestle with God. This is the meaning. This is one of the many meanings of the word Israel, God wrestler. We wrestle with God because in the end, it's only us wrestling with the different parts of our psyche within the unified mind. And we know it's all in good fun, and no one can really get hurt because all pain is impermanent. And so we're just fighting the good fight, whether we want to or not. And in doing this, this happens. I'll show you. On this side over here, we're not here yet. This is where we're heading into. This is when we cross over, this is where we're heading into. But when we access this, when we access the wisdom of this archetype, all of a sudden something happens, and it's in alignment with the polar shift that's happening right now and the swing of the pendulum, okay? So all this is happening right now, this great polar shift. Therefore, this card is going to move over here. And this card is going to move over here. Okay? And we'll have achieved a crossover of these two. And this is the card of meditation, getting in touch with our truest self. It's a card represented by Sirius. It's the brightest star in the sky. The truest self. Pouring water. It's the Aquarian card. As above, so below. So when we do this, we're creating a cross of energies, you see. We're wrestling with the self only to find ourself. And so the counterparts on both sides of the pillars switch places. That is called the crucifixion. What a crucifixion really is, okay? People have been very misunderstood for a long, long time. The truth has been long hidden because of this misunderstanding of what the crucifixion actually is. The crucifixion and the resurrection are points of our story, reflecting the original creation story. They're points and patterns within the greater pattern, within the great wheel, that we are inevitably going to come to again and again with greater awareness and more light and more power. So all the resurrections that have happened in history, every 26,000 years or so, all these times, each time it's more powerful. We can't imagine, we can't compare to what it once was. It will never be the same. And so a lot of people are stuck to old representations of this concept of the resurrection instead of focusing on the one that's happening right now and accessing the new opportunities that come along with it. And so the resurrection ultimately is a part of that pattern of the tree that makes up you and me. And the we is one. It's the tree. And when this switch happens, this polar shift, the pendulum swing, the merging, okay? When this happens, it's called the crucifixion. It creates a cross in the pattern. That lightning bolt can now go across to its opposite. There's an opening, a passageway that opens up. But as that happens, that point in the middle of the middle, because these are the middle of each of the pillars, and when that energy merges right there in the center, that dot, that is known as the birth of the Christ. That's what that's known as in Tiferet, that middle sephirah of the tree. And when the light hits there, it multiplies out in every direction, like the sun that we see every day rising in our earthly sky. That's what happens. The rays go out. So it's not just a belt, you see. It's not just like a cross like this. It's a multi-dimensional cross spiraling in all directions. And this is what we forget. Okay, this is what we forget. Creation isn't in one direction. It's in all of them simultaneously. And we're hitting a point of convergence right now that's offering us this opportunity to ride a loop within a loop. Okay, it's creating a time loop. Very interesting what's happening here. This is profound what's happening here because it's happening not only outside of us, but also inside of us. We are turning literally inside out with this process here. So I commend you for doing the work that you're doing and for, fighting through whatever ascension symptoms or, discomforts or anything that you're experiencing to get to that truth. Thank you. So that cross, it doesn't just go across, okay? It goes out infinitely. And because of this, we are experiencing an elevation in our consciousness. The pattern is being recreated over the pattern. Like I said, it's worlds within worlds emerging, okay? So a picture like the tree, and then a tree over it, but it's slightly above and to the side, like dragged. It's creating like a staircase when you really start to do print over print over print. Okay, these are the blueprints. So reality is being like doubled, so to say. Okay, it's creating a mirror. And when that one goes over the other one, we're creating this funny effect where we're opening up new worlds, literally new opportunities. Like I was saying before, it's the Vesica Pisces. It's the birth of a whole new out of the synthesis of the two. It becomes the third, but also the fourth because it's the form and it's the spirit. Okay, so when this happens, this is why you hear about the Christed heart and the Christ awakening within each one. Yes, we do have the ability to do this now because of that overlapping of timelines and overlapping of consciousness. What's happening is a new world is emerging. Light is coming more in to us. Literally, as these worlds emerge, there's more light coming into our body. Okay, so it's like a world dropping into another world. So this overlapping is causing this natural ability to embody the original light, the Christed light, to find the one who hid himself inside of each one of us. The one wanted to make sure that only true seekers would find the one. And so it was that the one hid oneself inside the heart, the center, so that as these worlds merged, with each merging, upon that merging, that one would be revealed in more of its light. And each time that happens, it's multiplying ever more into every direction. This is the image of Tiferet and the crucifixion. And when we pass through that center point, whatever crumbles and falls, remember, we still got the other half of the mission. We're still swinging on the pendulum. Then we get to the fourth quarter, which is, again, the Five of Wands, but now on the other side because we switched places. So we're having a little tricky switch of polarities going on here, okay? And that will be the resurrection, when we can learn the lesson that this Five of Wands is trying to show us, that one exists within the other, that there is no need to be afraid of the spiritual warfare, but to go right into it knowing that there is no enemy, there is only one, it's only the self. So show up once and for all to this great war as it was misconceived from the beginning of our creation, and see the rise in the fall and the fall in the rise as the sun, the light. There's one within the other. We can't get too caught up on one side or we'll never make it to the other, because we are a pendulum ever swinging. And so we see beyond the paradox, and we see the wheel, and we use the wisdom of that wheel and the great wheel of time. And it's 4 worlds, 4 dimensions as the 4 wheels of the chariot, of the Merkaba, that carries us through time and space, that place between the capstone and the pyramid, to unite and be reborn again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. One more thing. The 9 of Swords was at the very top as the capstone, as the evolution, as where we're headed, where this tree becomes essentially our spaceship and shows us where we're headed. The 9 of Swords is waking up from a nightmare. Swords is air, it's the mind, it's right before the ending, which is the 10, where it's a man lying on his face with 10 swords in his back. It's the ending once and for all, so we can begin again. And there's nothing to fear because it's all in our mind. It's swords, it's thought, it's not pentacles, it's not the earth, it's not body. We're waking up from anxiety, a mental war. And when we take our hands off of our eyes, we'll see the blanket, which has the signs representing the zodiac, as the wheel, which is our protection. So as soon as we move our hands from our eyes, you guys will notice what's right in front of us, that blanket of protection, which is our connectivity to this wheel, which essentially becomes that final sword of truth, of severity, to cut through the last bit of this nightmare so that we can clear the space to start again. Yeah, bring on the tower and bring on the destruction, because I won't be fooled by this trick. I know what's on the other side. It's very opposite. That's the kind of confidence we have to have. So the 8 of Swords is right before this, and it's a woman and she's trapped by bandages. Then it's the 9, waking up from the nightmare, realizing she's the only one trapping herself. She sets herself free, and the 10 of Swords is killing that thing once and for all, so that we can move to a new cycle in the Sword of Truth. So you see, we're just waking up. We got to fully wake up, move our hands from our eyes, and see with the real one eye. It's not the third eye. Well, it is, but it's also the single eye. That's the wisdom of the 4, that the third eye is also the one of truth. Okay, so let's move our hands from our eyes to see the full truth so that we can just kill this thing once and for all. Because if we don't, we'll never get to building. It's time to build. By the way, the story that aligns with this time right now, the Bible and Torah story of the week, was the building of the tabernacle. So take that for what you will. Thank you for watching. Today was the first quarter within the last quarter of the moon, as we know it. It was a cycle within a cycle. Almost like a planet within a planet. This is like a hidden planet that we're accessing by being aware of the codes within the story right now. And when we can find these sequences, they become gateways and portals for our awareness, okay? Then we see that these 4 days are reflecting the 4 cycles of the moon, which are really the 4 quarters of the one, because everything is a reflection of that. So essentially we're accessing these 4 days as a representation of the wheel itself. And each 4 of these days is very powerful. So please check out the video from yesterday and tune in tomorrow. Thank you guys.